Great to be in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and great to be with each and every one of you as we bring you a non-conference men's soccer matchup from the ACC, your home team, the North Carolina Tar Heels, and from the A-Sun, undefeated through 4 games, the Liberty Flames right here at Dorrance Field in Chapel Hill. And hello, everybody. Alongside Kyle Straub, I'm Dean Linke. And Kyle, obviously, for North Carolina, they're looking to get going here in the spring.
Get going. You saw there in the open, 7 games already on the schedule that they've played, but none here in 2021. A bit of a different season and a different world. Big shocker that that's the case. For the ACC, they played some games in the fall. They're just getting going in the spring. For Liberty, though, they've already played 4 games here in the spring, the entire schedule. Will that give them a benefit, or are we just on an even playing field? We're going to find out, though.
When you look at UNC, the extra time will be beneficial for their number 10.
Giovanni Montes Diaca, the last time he was out on the field and was fully healthy was 2018. He led the Tar Heels with 8 goals and 20 points that season. Suffered an ACL injury in 2019. Didn't quite look like himself in the fall, but was still recovering. Carlos told us he's got that quick step back. That first step is there again, and they expect big things from him.
Meanwhile, the Liberty Flames are led by Kelly Finley, who used to coach at NC State. They're undefeated, and they've not allowed a goal through 4 games.
Cordero, the sophomore goalkeeper, 1.88 goal against average as a freshman. That was back in 2019. He has made strides here in his sophomore season, and that front 4 in front of him has made it a little bit easier on him. Not a single goal given up in their first 4 games.
Liberty thinking about an upset from the A-Sun, the Tar Heels from the ACC. Non-conference men's soccer on ACC Network Extra. The fantastic Dorrance Field here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, as we get ready for Liberty and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Let's take a look at the starting lineups and how they will line up on the field. Keep an eye on the right forward, Gabe Finley. Yes, that is the coach's son. He's a freshman. He was recruited by every major ACC school. He is the real deal. That's the 4-3-3 for head coach Kelly Finley and the Liberty Flames. Meanwhile, for Carlos Samuano and the UNC Tar Heels, I like this formation. It is the old school diamond led by that number 10, but he's got freedom because of Pickering in that holding midfield spot.
Pickering will help that defense out as well as help to push the ball up through the midfield, and Montes Diaca in that situation will almost act as another attacker moving up into the front with Jimenez and Herrera.
Number 29, Yaya Bakayoko. Get to say that early even before he touches a ball. Anybody named Yaya deserves some special attention. And we are underway. North Carolina in their white tops, Carolina blue shorts and white socks. Liberty in darker blue from head to toe. Dorrance Field, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. A beautiful early evening for soccer alongside Kyle Straub. I'm Dean Linke, delighted to be with you for men's soccer on ACC Network Extra.
It's really an odd feeling to have a soccer game this time of the season in college, but I love that we've got this type of weather, and in the spring we're able to call a soccer game right now. I kind of like this model.
Well, and the great thing about it is you think about Carlos Samuano, the top man at UNC, won a national championship in his first year as the head coach, the only second rookie coach to do it at 2011. One of the most successful coaches out there now in his 10th year, but he's also the leader for the 21st century model, along with Sasho Sorosky, Jeremy Gunn, Todd Yeagley, and a few others. And Carlos Samuano spent extra time on that model, which would consist of men's D1 teams playing in the fall and the spring. Because of COVID, we're doing that. So you talk about making lemonade out of lemons and giving the NCAA a really good opportunity to see what it's all about. That is happening right now as down goes Gabe Finley.
You say he spent some extra time on it. He put hours into that 21st century model and years while they were developing it, having meetings, and they actually got to a point where there was going to be a vote on it to see if they actually would change it, and that was right before COVID had happened. So unfortunately, it happens in the way that they didn't want it to, but they still get to a point where you have that split season. And when we talked to him about it, he was ecstatic because it was everything that he thought and had been arguing that it would be.
Well said. Played out of the back for North Carolina. Obviously, we spent some time in the open talking about Liberty's defense as we take a look at the top man for Liberty. Kelly Finley had great success at Butler, said he was working for wins, working to get his dream job. He got it at NC State. After 6 years, there was heartbreak. He admitted coaches are hired to be fired. He was lost for a moment, went to Sporting KC, then went to Davidson, and when Liberty opened up, as a Christian man, he felt like it was perfect for his great family. They have 5 kids, he and his wife. They've been married 25 years.
He's 100% right. Coaches are hired to be fired. There's not many of them that go out on their own terms. But for him, it's interesting how that career path has gone. He was trying to get wins to get to the dream job, and I would say Liberty is what ended up being his dream job. He just didn't know. So that path may take you on twists and turns, but eventually get you to the spot you're supposed to be.
Yeah, speaking of that dream, it's now a dream for him to coach his son. He spent a lot of time talking about that.
And how interesting of a dynamic that is for him.
Sent in by Yaya. Bounced around. This defense will be challenged, unlike they have been in their first 4 games. North Carolina loaded with talent, and they've got a deep team. Very much like his counterpoint, Anson Dorrance. Carlos Salmano has changed his approach a little bit, as he's not afraid to run in 5, 6, 7 subs during a game. That's part of the rules, and he's taking advantage of it.
Carlos isn't afraid to tell you he's a soccer purist, and it is true to the T of the word. But if you've got the depth and the rules are what they are, it's kind of silly not to go ahead and take advantage of it. He brings in top recruiting classes year after year after year. Get those kids out there. It'll give you the upper hand in some matches.
See, they've spread the wealth as well. 7 different goal scorers. And to Carlos's credit, as well as his assistant Grant Porter, part of the reason he admitted they were running so many players in is they were trying to find out who could get it done.
Yeah, and that was part of the conversation when I asked him about how this year with the split season has gone.
Great run by the Tar Heels into the 18 as finally Herrera was denied. Go on, Kyle.
But he said in the spring, or excuse me, in the fall, you treat that more kind of like trying to figure out the pieces you have and how they work best together. And then in the off season, fine-tuning them so that when you get to the spring, you've got a perfectly well-oiled machine. So in the fall, they're trying to figure out, especially with all those young players, who fits in well. And now you're into the spring, and hopefully those pieces have taken the next step.
There is Carlos Salmano. Ended the fall season with a loss in the ACC tournament to the eventual winner, Clemson. Stay with us at halftime as we'll take a look back at Clemson's ACC tournament win in the fall.
It had to have felt good for Clemson because the Tar Heels beat them in the regular season on some crazy, crazy games. Last second goal here in Chapel Hill to defeat the Tigers.
I think it is worth mentioning on 2 fronts that those lines you see are lacrosse lines. 1, so you know they're lacrosse lines, but 2, to cross-promote. Right now, #1 in the country for men's and women's lacrosse, the University of North Carolina Tar Heels. #1 in both of them.
Jenny Levy, Joe Bresci, the head coach for those 2 teams, have them playing really well. And it was just a few years ago, both those programs won the national championship. So
Same
not
year.
A surprise that they're both #1 in the country.
Same weekend even.
Yeah, day after each other. In the same area. I think they were both being held in Maryland that season.
Yeah, I think the same stadium, actually. They did it all together, and the women either stayed to watch the men or vice versa as you see those national champions. Jenny Levy started the program, is now with U.S. Lacrosse as well. I mean, one of the legends of the game and super, super nice person. It's interesting, I was talking to Coleman Scott, the wrestling coach, for some prep as well, and when I asked him who he is closest with, he mentioned Jenny Levy and Sam Paul, who, by the way, also won a couple titles for the tennis team.
Yeah, both the men and women indoor tennis teams for Carolina winning national championships. They've been bringing home some hardware here for the Tar Heels. But those coaches, I think it's probably because their offices are in the same building. They kind of split up depending on where you are on campus.
Saw the long goal kick from Cordero. Fall to the feet of Musa Morris, a soft senior from Nigeria.
And because you brought it up, Dean, that's a tough tackle there, going to give Liberty a really good opportunity for a set piece. But because you brought it up, you have 4 different teams that are playing on this field alone. Credit to the crew that has kept this field, brand new Dorrance Field, in such good condition, especially considering how wet it's been with all the rain that's been in the area the last couple of weeks.
Lots of rain. Hats off to the great crew. You see a few brown spots in the heavy use areas, of course, but all things considered, you're right. It has been a ton of rain, a little bit of snow, a little bit of ice, everything, but they've got it ready here for this matchup against Liberty. Liberty over the ball. Marco Matrevsky, wearing number 6, looks pretty interested with his right foot. They could also take this with the left, but I'm thinking Matrevsky. We'll see. Matrevsky will take it, and he will shoot it over. Kyle, going back to the coaches, Carlos Samuano and Kelly Finley, not only did they know each other from facing each other when Kelly Finley was at NC State, but they have actually known each other since they were 7 years old. They were teammates. They played against each other. They would drive to practice. They are tight.
Yeah, really cool story. They lived about 20 minutes a piece from each other when they were kids, and as you get a little bit older, I think they said 7 to 10 were the ranges we got from the two coaches. Tough to remember that part of your life way back when, but is when they started playing on those travel teams together. And the funniest part is Kelly told us, hey, Carlos was the one who drive, but there were a couple of times I saw my life flash before my eyes.
Yeah, he did. As they got older and beyond 16 when they would drive to practice, he did not give high marks for Carlos Samuano behind the wheel. Sorry, Carlos. Play down the left side. North Carolina, can they run it down? They can. They'll keep it in bounds. Now they need some movement. Top of the 18, Montez Diaco back in and taken down in the box. Referee says no.
I think that was a good challenge there defensively. Played the ball, there was some contact, but as long as you're playing the ball, you're not usually going to get a penalty called on you there or a foul.
One shot apiece for each team so far. Of course, you just saw the shot come from Liberty on the free kick opportunity. Back into the 18, and there's that defense that's bending for the moment right now. Talking about Liberty, a little bit of a mistake as it fell to the feet there of Herrera. He'll make you pay if he gets the opportunity. Now back to Bakayoko. Yaya Bakayoko, a freshman from Bronx, New York, went to Martin Luther King Jr. High School, the New York Gatorade High School Player of the Year. Big time talent. Trying to run it down is Jimenez, and Jimenez pushed to the ground.
Carolina threatening here early, and probably their best opportunity, but coming in hard, playing the ball. That's why I said I like that foul, or that challenge, not a foul. I thought it was a good no whistle from the referee.
A little final capper on Carlos Samuano. We mentioned that he won a national championship in his first year, taking over for Elmar Bolovich. He is number 2 in the country as far as winning percentage among active Division I head coaches. He has won a lot of games as a coach, and I was able to visit with Kelly Finley actually down at Liberty on Monday, and I asked him about Carlos Samuano, and he said tactically, like his mind, the way he breaks down the game, and he wasn't saying it in a sycophantic way. He was like, this guy is the real deal, and the players like him. And that reminded me when Elmar Bolovich decided to leave, it was the players that were at the front door of the athletic director saying, hey, we want Carlos Samuano. Turned out to be a pretty good decision.
Absolutely. The coaches, you don't hear a lot about the assistants a lot, but the players usually have more interactions with them than they do the head coach. So a good decision by Bubba Cunningham, listening to the players, hey, this is the guy who needs to get promoted. Actually, I think it was Dick Bador back then.
Yeah, it was pre-Bubba, but yeah. But I know Bubba's happy that he's got 2 pretty good soccer coaches, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, Anson Dorrance is okay in his own right.
Montez Diaca. Love the weighted ball.
Yeah, that comment that Kelly had made about it, Carlos, in a tactical way that he thinks about soccer. There's a few years ago, I was talking with a player that was on Carolina's team, and I asked him about Carlos. Said, is he any different when you're in private with him? Because if you ever talk with Carlos, I wouldn't say that he's got the huge personality. He's kind of more of an internal
introvert.
Less words is more for him. And he said, no, he isn't, but that's not why you come here. You come here because his soccer mind is so much further advanced than most coaches.
And they play. I mean, they like to keep it on the ground and play soccer. Make no mistake, though, from the A-Sun, Liberty with those 3 wins to start the season and the tie against James Madison, 2 4-0 wins, one over Mike Lynch and Belmont Abbey, another Christian-based school, and then they beat Radford 4-0. Of course, Radford famous for Dante Washington, one of the all-time great scorers for the U.S. under-23 program, played in the MLS for a long time, and then they 0-0s against James Madison in their last game. They've got high point after this one.
It hasn't just been that they haven't given up any goals. They've had some balanced scoring on the offensive attack, too. It's not just a guy that they have to look to get the offensive firepower.
Almost 15 minutes into this one, still no score.
I think 15 minutes in, you'd probably say Carolina has played their game more than Liberty. Carolina's game is controlling that ball, controlling the tempo, and just wearing you down. I think the Liberty defense has done a good job, though, of not breaking.
Betts thought he was fouled. Yaya back on the ball. Yaya will get it back. They'll push it to the outside. You'll see some white jerseys filling some lanes inside the 18 as Montez Diaca comes back. Yaya first times it. It'll find the head now of Thomas, who will get the start at right back, as Carlos Zambrano suggested Kyle Straub at right back, but I guess your eligibility's up.
Yeah, it was up a few years back. Plus, I don't think the knees could handle it anymore anyways.
He was obviously kidding, but right back has come into question. Mark Salas was the right back. He slides over to right center back, and now it's a battle between some youngsters at right back, and perhaps we'll see both of them today.
Yeah, probably going to. He said to us, it's not very often that you see a true freshman out there for us, but that's in the position they're at right now, and it's one of the reasons that you feel a little more comfortable if you're Carlos. You get a high recruiting class. Those freshmen have talent. They just need the experience.
6th overall median between these two teams. The Flames have never earned a victory over North Carolina. A stat I reminded Kelly Finley about, but it feels like he's got a team that could do it, so we'll see. North Carolina right now stringing passes together neatly. They started on the left side, now they go right side. Here's Thomas. Thomas sent out of there, picked back up by Yaya.
Good read by Betts to come off the line and get in front of that ball instead of letting it get past him.
Yaya Bakayoko will send it all the way over near the North Carolina bench. Not able to handle at that time is North Carolina. It'll come back to Liberty.
Looked like they almost played a deke there, thinking Herrera was going to be making a run.
Still just one shot for each team and pretty clean so far. Just one foul for each team as well.
Liberty having a tough time clearing here. Poor pass, though.
Yaya send it back. This is what I'm talking about. North Carolina can play. They can string passes together. But now it's just a matter of that final pass as it finds the feet here of Jimenez. And Jimenez will earn a throw in North Carolina.
It's the MO of a Carlos Zambrano team. Have possession, crisp, clean passes, and work your way to find those weak spots in the defense.
Keep talking about Liberty's defense. Carolina's defense has held opponents scoreless in 13 of 14 halves this season. The Blue Steel, just 5 goals they've given up, fewest in the ACC.
Big reason for that. You mentioned Mark Salas moving into right center back, but Alex Smur in goal as well. They got a couple of good ones.
That's so well said, Kyle, because I always like to ask the question, if you were producing to the coach. Carlos hates that question, by the way, for the record. I give him credit for going to Gio right away, but one thing that Grant Porter did say, and even Carlos has said in the past, for him, anytime you want someone to spotlight, you can spotlight Smur because he is just a rock between the pipes.
Yeah, he really has nothing but praise for Smur. Thinks that he's one of the best, if not the best goalkeeper in the country. And when you got a guy like that back there, able to direct traffic, it really does help the defense. Not to mention the fact that when needed, he can stand on his head to make some saves.
Good work by the referee. And there is number 1, Alex Smur, the junior from Greensboro, North Carolina. Greensboro Day really has been outstanding since day one, arriving here at Chapel Hill. You see that record and that goals against average with 4 goose eggs on the season.
I like the pressure that Liberty is putting on Carolina here, trying to make it tough for them to get the ball upfield.
I like how Yaya's made himself available all over the field, right? He's come over the left, he's come in the middle, he's done overlapping runs.
He's doing a great job of showing and just making it easier for those passes through the midfield to get connected.
You see number 7 on your screen with that moppy hair. That's Gabe Finley. And as I say that, they'll try to find Gabe Finley, but it'll go off the head of Thomas.
We touched on it just a little bit earlier. The dynamic there, playing for your father. He was recruited by a lot of the big-time programs, and you kind of look at it and say, well, of course he went to Liberty. That's where his father is. But when you think about that dynamic, father-son coaching doesn't always go very well.
Great ball forward. Headed out of there by the goalkeeper. That was his only choice. So now North Carolina's got a chance to do something dangerous. Shells drops it off. Good to see Shells healthy and out there, the sophomore from Germany. He's a warrior. If you remember in the fall season, he got banged up, left the field, looked terrible, and he started the next game after that.
Yeah, I think that was the Duke game. He went out within the first 5 minutes. There's a player, another one that this North Carolina coaching staff is excited about.
There's been a nice connection to Germany over the years. Not quite as connected as Texas for North Carolina, but some good players coming out of Germany, including the freshman Tim Shells, who's out there. Throw in from number 15, Riley Thomas, who's done a nice job so far, getting the nod at right back.
The Texas connection for Carolina is so important. They've gotten so many good players out of that state, and it's because it's where Carlos is from. It makes it a little bit easier to be able to go back there and have some connections.
Well said. That's where those drives were taking place, just outside of Houston, with Carlos driving and Kelly Finley, the Liberty top man, sitting next to him.
Now, I'll tell you this, I don't know the exact town that they lived in, but geographically where he explained it, between Houston and the coast, my brother lives out by Houston. It is pretty flat, so I'm not really sure what the issue was with driving out there.
Just pile it on for the main man. He can always just point to the scoreboard for the wins if you want to talk about his driving.
Hey, at this point in the career, I'm sure if he wants, he can have somebody chauffeur him around.
Indeed.
Both of them.
There is Kelly Finley. Loves it at Liberty. And I think the best thing that Kelly Finley shared with me about your comment earlier, and I'm glad you mentioned it about coaching your son, is he said that he used to always think as a coach that they were all his sons, and that's how he was coaching them. But he realized when his son actually joined the team that he wasn't coaching them like they were his real sons. Now he is. And he said it's made a difference on and off the field with him and the squad. And
that can be a good thing or a bad thing. I think it comes down to the individual coach and what their kind of outlook is. Sometimes a dad coach can be way too hard on the son. Doesn't strike me at all that Kelly is that type of a guy. I think it's more of the understanding and the care that's there. And that's what he was talking about, is now he coaches everybody like they're his son. You also have to have an open-mindedness on both parts. You're going to have more of a open communication with your son. They feel more comfortable because that is who it is, and they're going to tell you things that maybe they don't like or they think may be wrong that a normal player isn't going to speak up on.
Great point. Make no mistake, the eyes of his teammates are on both the coach and the son, and that's been working out okay as well.
Nice ball from Montes de Oca.
Jimenez sends it in. Jimenez plays it to Herrera.
Neither Jimenez or Herrera got a great touch on that one, but I like the connection that they had there.
Finley tried to play it forward to his teammate Tyler Welch, a junior from Bangor Christian, transfer from Northeastern. Tar Heels on the attack again, and Kyle Straub said it best. North Carolina has had a little better of the possession, but still neither team with a shot on frame so far. North Carolina's going to go to their bench. There's Sanchez coming in for Tim Shells. Sanchez, a freshman defender from Vancouver, Washington, Baker Webb Academy.
As a player, one of the benefits of having this substitution where you can bring in pretty much as many as you want. You go 100 miles an hour the entire time you're on that field because you know you're going to get a breather. You don't have to pace it where you're out there for 45 until you get a break.
Good look wearing the captain's armband, the senior from Dallas, Texas, part of the super successful Lone Star Soccer Club. You see his career, 13 goals, 6 assists in 37 games, and this after missing a ton of soccer, tearing his ACL, but working his way all the way back. The last couple years, if you remember, right before the season starts, North Carolina has had devastating news. They had the big-time German scorer who tore his ACL, Bruning. Yep, and then you nailed it. And then Montez Diaca missed the 2019 season with a torn ACL.
And I think that injury happened like a week before the season happened. They were super excited coming off of that 2018 20-point year. The way he looked in practice, they thought he was ready to really break out on the national scene. And then that injury happens. And Carlos didn't mince words. He said it was a long, tough road back for him, and that's why he looked a little bit slow to him in the fall.
Smur right at the top of the 18, backs up 6 feet to handle it, and will just shovel it out to start the North Carolina attack, as they are known to build from the back, left to right, up and down the field.
Liberty's got to keep possession here. Even if they don't come away with a great opportunity, just keep the ball on North Carolina's side of the field. Give that defense a little bit of a breather. The Tar Heels have dominated possession so far.
Knocked out of bounds off of North Carolina. Liberty unbeaten through the first 4 games of the season for the first time since 1997. That 97 Flames team began the season 8-0 to start the year. Gabe Finley's touch back, and it'll go off the foot of Philip Burnett, a senior from Germantown, Maryland. Throw in back to North Carolina. Nice tight look there at Milo Garvanyan, the junior, who can play attacking soccer, but has settled in nicely at that left back spot.
Yeah, actually started his career off in the midfield for the Tar Heels, and they just thought that he was a natural fit in that back line because he can come up and attack, and that's something that Carlos has free range with those outside backs. Go up, get involved in the offense when you can. Just make sure you're able to retreat.
Higher pressure now from the front line for North Carolina on that back line of Liberty. Draws a foul. Coming in there hard is Pickering. Pickering, a player, if needed, can also drop back and play center back if they decide to change up anything at the midfield. But at the moment, Pickering connects the dots between that defense and the attackers for North Carolina. There's Pickering on it now. Samwano, as I mentioned, subbing a lot more. Did that in the fall and keeping it going here in his first game in the spring. Try to get you caught up on who's coming in. Number 37, Jacques Bouvier, junior from Washington, D.C., Benjamin Franklin International. And also coming into the game, number 25, Akeem Clark, a freshman from Windsor, Connecticut, who can fly, by the way.
The other benefit for Carolina having the depth and be able to bring in these subs is, as we mentioned a couple of times, this is their first game here in the spring. They are not going to have the legs that you're going to get from Liberty, who's got 4 full 90-minute games under their belt.
First big mistake from the freshman right back Thomas, a little risky there. Liberty not successful on the counter attack. Thomas has to be careful there, Kyle.
Yeah, you like the aggressiveness, but that's where a freshman needs to learn when you can be aggressive versus when you need to pull it back a little.
Beautiful Dorrance Field, named after the 22-time national champion Anson Dorrance. Alongside Cal Straub, I'm Dean Linke. Speaking of Anson Dorrance, that Vision of a Champion podcast series has been so fun to work on. Just wrapped up an interview with Carly Lloyd, who's from your neck of the woods, or close anyway. jersey. Can I count that?
Before. She's pretty good, right?
She's still getting it done. I was struggling. UNC was playing Marquette, but USA was playing Argentina women's soccer at the same time. And I got to admit, the USA women's soccer game got the nod for me. I know you were working the basketball game. I know you don't want to talk about that game either. But.
Listen, if you're a Marquette fan, that's a great game to turn on and watch.
Throw in for North Carolina, Garvanian. George Washington High School in Albuquerque. Showed you the vitals on him a little earlier on your ACC Network Extra screen. Mark Salas, so good at right back, now settling in at right center back.
Handled that pressure there from Welch really well.
He did. 17 minutes through, let's get the thoughts from Kyle Straub. First on the home team, North Carolina, still looking for the first shot on goal, but they've strung some passes together.
They've strung some passes together. It's that second and third pass that you need to make the connections on to get them the opportunity for a good look at the goal mouth. They've held on to possession, which is the name of their game. Break down the defense, and eventually you'll get the opportunity. So I think for Carlos, he's got to be happy with what he's seen so far.
Phenomenal breakdown. Next opportunity, we'll ask Kyle about Liberty. We told you they have not allowed a goal in those 4 games, but they've been under some pressure here. It's fair to say they're bending but not totally breaking as it comes back to the feet of Thomas. Montez Diaca, I think, had a legitimate beef there. It looked like he was fouled.
Yeah, I agree with you. Right in front of or in the center of the field there. It was right in front of the referee, too.
How about Liberty so far, Kyle?
I've been impressed with the defense. There has been a couple of little mistakes, the bending that's happened, but they haven't broken. They haven't given Carolina anything even remotely close to a good look so far. I think they need to hold on to the ball, find a way to possess it a little bit more. One, you give the defense a break so that they don't get tired, whether it be physically or mentally. And two, you got to find some opportunities offensively. Maybe you can catch Carolina sleeping because the ball has been on the other side of the field so much. Be a bad idea from them to attack the right side of that Carolina defense because there's the freshman Thomas back there. You don't see much of a weakness. Let's go see if the youngster will make a mistake.
Foul called against Tyler Welch. Referee with a couple words, no card issued. Welch is a junior from Bangor Christian, a transfer from Northeastern. Yaya, foul, and some sportsmanship as down goes Musa Morris, who's off to a great start for the first time in his 2 seasons at Liberty. Musa Morris scored more than 1 goal in a game, netting 2 in the Flames' win over Radford. Morris leads Liberty with 7 points and is tied for the team lead with 3 goals, including those 2 goals you see right there against Radford on February 17th. And speaking of Morris, he was offside. It'll come back to North Carolina with 14:30 remaining.
I like that he's trying to push that line, though, get in behind the Tar Heel defense.
Long ball coming from Liberty to Morris. Let's see what Morris can do here now. One-on-one defending coming from Salas, trying to find Gabe Finley. Finley thought he was knocked to the ground, had a couple words for the referee. North Carolina will play it forward. They'll find the speed of number 25, Clark. Clark will earn a throw-in as more Tar Heels are warming up. Nice look at Akeem Clark, the freshman from Windsor, Connecticut.
I think one thing we will have to keep an eye on, because it was a pretty nice day here. Sun was out, temperature around 70 degrees. As that sun goes down, does that field get any slickness? Is there some wetness from the condensation that may build?
Still searching for that first shot on goal. Clark thought that was the first corner kick, but the referee says no, it'll come back to Liberty with just over 13 minutes remaining here in this one. UNC opens this spring campaign with 3 consecutive home games. They return to action against ACC foe Jay Vidovich and Pitt on Friday, March 5th.
This is the only non-conference Carolina has on the schedule for the spring. I think it's the only one that they were allowed to have with the way the conference split between the fall and spring. Was one get-ready exhibition non-conference before you get into ACC play. The Tar Heels took advantage of it, played both an exhibition and now they're non-conference.
Yeah, a little give and go. Extra pass.
Good one touches here.
Yeah, real nice. Nailed it, Kyle, as usual. Is it back to Pickering? Little touch as tucking inside. We talked about the offensive ability of Garbanyan, and he's pushing forward. Let's see if they find him. Sometimes you got to go backwards to go forward in soccer. Garbanyan in the middle of it. Clark, quick touch. He's looking to find Buveri. Now here's Yaya. I wouldn't mind seeing Yaya just unleash one from 35 or 40 just to challenge this goalkeeper that has held 4 teams scoreless.
Yeah, I was just thinking I'd like to see some individual creation here from a Carolina player. Get a ball at your feet, try and make something happen and get an opening.
UNC 3.29 shots on goal per game, 10th in the ACC as shots on goal at a premium, and that continues here against a very good defensive team in Liberty. Corner kick punched out of there by Danny Cordero, a sophomore from Costa Rica. UNC keeps it back into the 18 again. Finley checks back. Clark using his body. I like it. Coming off the bench. As Kyle Straub told you, Carlos Samuano's going to run him out there. In the first half, you come on, you cannot re-enter if you come off, but in the second half you can. So Clark will get a good run here.
And I like the way that he uses the time and the subs in this first half because there's not the re-entry. So you run them for 20 to 35 minutes and you get as much run as you can. Okay, you'll get a little extra break at the halftime while we get some new fresh legs in there.
Thomas. Bakayoko, and they'll switch it back over to Garbanyan. Montez Diaca shows. Little touch from Salas, he'll give it back to Yaya. And the assistant referee will call the foul on Betts. Let's take a look at that corner one more time, Kyle.
Good read from Cordero. Comes off the line just at the last second. That was Sanchez that was there for the Tar Heels. Came from the back post. If that ball isn't punched out by Cordero, probably a 1-0 Carolina lead right now.
So 2 corners for North Carolina. Montez Diaca, good ball in. Trying to find the head of Akeem Clark. Sent right back in, but right to Cordero.
Not a bad thought to float that one in. You already have numbers up towards the box. If that ball isn't handled well by Cordero, maybe you get a loose ball in the box that you can put in the back of the net.
See Zatarin from Padua, Italy. Of course, Padua resonates with me because Alexi Lalas actually left Major League Soccer to go over and play in the Serie A with Padua just for 1 short year.
There's a bad giveaway in their own zone by the Flames. They're lucky Carolina couldn't capitalize on it with not much of a defense back for Liberty.
So 8 minutes and change, still zeros.
Carolina's starting to draw some fouls here in the last few minutes against the Flames, and it's gotten them a couple of opportunities. Is that the Tar Heels ramping up a little bit, or maybe some frustration from the Liberty defense? That seems like it has been on defense the entire first half here so far, Dean.
Yeah, it really does, but they don't panic when North Carolina gets it into the 18. They still show some composure.
Kelly told us that North Carolina is a team that's going to possess the ball more than us. We need to make sure we just stick to what we know our game plan is and do your job defensively. Oh, nice ball.
Yeah, Sanchez, good little move. Montez Dioka knew a white jersey was behind him. Gives it to Pickering. Garbanian has it taken away. Can Liberty get anything going on the counter?
Looked like he was down behind the play.
Oh, so that's why they knocked it out of bounds. So hopefully he's all right. Is coming on now is Cameron Fisher.
There was some contact, and then he goes down. I don't know if it's when he planted that foot that maybe something happened, a little bit of slippage. Stay in though.
Yeah, waved off the trainer and stayed in there.
Tell you, sometimes when you just tweak an ankle, it really hurts at first, but after about 30 seconds or a minute, that pain goes away and you realize, okay, we're good to go. First bad defensive play from the Tar Heels. You don't expect it to come from a guy like Salas, but just whiffed on that one. Not a ton of pressure from Huss. Just a bad giveaway from Salas, and a good job of Huss to immediately attack, even though they didn't have numbers. He gets his team the first corner of the half.
You said it, first corner kick. Yeah, that was just a swing and a whiff there from Salas. You may not see that happen again for Salas. He's that good. A rare mistake. Corner kick for the Flames. They go far post. Over the top. He was trying to Olympico that one. It's pretty hard to do that against a player like Smur, as that was Marco Mitrevsky, the junior from Rochester, New York, transfer from Lewisburg. And 2 assists against Radford in that 4-0 win. Clark, little touch. Trying to use his body.
Good job by Mitroviski, though. Smaller player, still able to shield Clark off.
That was Grant Porter who knocked the ball back. Of course, Grant Porter won a national championship as a player in 2001 under Elmar Bolovich, and won as a main assistant for Carlos Samuano 10 years later in 2011.
It's got to be so awesome to have experienced it from both sides, because as a player, you're the one out there getting dirty, putting in the work to win that game. As a coach, you get to see the players grow and the team grow, and eventually it come to fruition. I know you're fairly close with him. Did he have a favorite?
Yeah, he said player, definitely.
Yeah, not surprised.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, he enjoys molding young minds, as you see him right there with a quick talk to Lucas Del Rosario. Like a lot of players out there, part of the NCFC youth system. You see Grant Porter, 2-time national champion, one as a player, one as a coach. But you can tell that his teammates on that 2001 team, they still get together, talk a lot of trash, have some good times.
They've got a seat at that table. They always will.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to fly on the charter plane with the Tar Heels up to Columbus when they won that national championship, and fly back. It was a good time. And Grant Porter, I'll tell you what, he was a workhorse in the midfield, a guy that had to be on the field for North Carolina to be successful.
Those workhorses are the ones that make the best coaches, right? Instill the mentality they had as a player into the new players.
3 minutes and change remaining here in the first. Can we find a goal as Lucas Del Rosario, who has played in big-time games for North Carolina FC, the pro team, and probably will initially find a spot as North Carolina FC drops down to League One. Don't be too surprised after this season as his eligibility wraps up if he's playing there. Jeremy Kelly actually did the same thing, and now Kelly is a quality player for the Colorado Rapids of Major League Soccer. He's turned himself into quite the pro at a pretty good level.
You go and play at a program like Carolina and under a, as we said before, tactical coach like Carlos Zambrano, you're gonna know the ins and outs of the game. So when you get to that next level, you've got a little bit of a head start than some kids do.
There's Bawa, another freshman, as I said 5 or 6, but I think it's been 7 or 8 subs here for North Carolina, even in the first half, as you see Bawa, the freshman from Illinois. Lucas Del Rosario has so much talent that, in fact, Grant Porter told me today that he still shows those flashes where he looks like not just the best player on the field, but the best player in the country. Just not enough of it. They just want it a little more consistent. No whistle there.
Yeah, that's definitely committed the foul. They're going to get it out in front. Pickering, who went down hard for Carolina. Here's the first one. No call here. He didn't touch that ball. I think there should have been a foul there. This is one they definitely get in on. I mentioned it a few minutes ago. As this half has gone on, Liberty getting more and more physical, and that last one actually going to be a yellow card.
So the yellow card going to Kyle Garnett. And Kyle, you said it, a yellow card could have gone to Brant Betts, and I guess they played continuation. I'm not sure, but you're right. Betts did not touch the ball. That's a legitimate giddy up right there, as Pickering was hit pretty hard there by Garnett.
It was hit low. You're guessing, especially with the way he's walking gingerly, that got him right on that ankle.
They list Pickering at 6 feet 175. When you see him up close, he looks every bit of 6'2" to me. As over now is Garvanyan trying to circle one in and do something no team has done so far against Liberty. Pretty good attempt there from Garvanyan.
Struck this ball well, just didn't start it far enough in the middle of the goal. That one bent around the outside. Great look though from Garvanyan.
Coincidentally, it was Bubba Cunningham, who you mentioned earlier, who was standing behind that goal, hoping to get a good look at Garvanyan finishing it. It was so close as Garvanyan sends it forward as we are walking down to just a minute remaining here in the first. Trefsky will bring it back to Malik Smith, a senior from Canada. There's 2 transfers from Grand Canyon on this Liberty team. Throw in. Of course, we're calling the game COVID safe here at the UNC Media and Communications Center. You hear a lot of noise. Are they piping that noise in, or is that the limited fans there?
They're piping that noise in, although there are some fans, and I have noticed from different arenas, limited fans can still be pretty noisy out there.
Pinging around, still time. Can North Carolina score here in the final seconds? Once again, they get it into the 18, this time right at the spot, turning, and Bouveri almost makes it 1-0.
Just falling away as he turned on this one. That's why he got underneath that ball. If he was able to keep it, the center of gravity over top of the ball, maybe he strikes that one a little truer and keeps it down.
And that's how the first half will, I believe, come to an end. They count it down. I'm pretty sure it's over. 0-0. Your quick thoughts on the first half.
Carolina dominated possession, but didn't really get very many good looks out of it. Just one shot on goal. Liberty did a good job defensively of not breaking. They've got to find a way to keep possession and get the ball into the offensive side.
Liberty undefeated through 4 games in the spring season. North Carolina went 3-2-2 in the fall. This is game number 1 in the spring. Carlos Samwano's team has been dangerous, but neither team has been able to find the back of the net. Through 45, it's Liberty 0, North Carolina 0, right here on ACC Network Extra. Halftime here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina and Liberty men's soccer. Of course, in the fall, the Clemson Tigers, led by Mike Noonan, won the ACC tournament just down the road at Wake Med Soccer Park. Let's take a look back.
Dinks it over the top to Strickler, and they get a finish finally. Beautiful combination play. Smith gets ahead. He'll take a shot low, and it trickles in. Smith, the goal scorer, trying to get a shot one-on-one, and he slots it home again. Clemson pressing, smelling some blood for the hat trick. He's going to walk it in. Plays it across, and it's going to fall for Smith. Instead of taking 4, he lays it off for Brighton. Unselfish from the hat trick scorer, hooks up.
It's McFadden here going low, runs through everybody, and sends Notre Dame to the semifinals. Aiden McFadden, game winner.
Looking to make the cross in. It's still loose in front, and across the line, and it's awarded.
Oh. Spoke too soon, and he got him. Happy Kamseyu, second of the match, chips the keeper Pannenberg, and Prince Amponsa, the freshman, made a massive freshman mistake.
Back to Noel. Slotting it through. Jackson Walty onside and inside the corner. Near post and a goal. Too easy. Pitt goes in front 2-0. Petkovic driving, deflected. 3-0 Pitt. Panthers headed to their first ACC final.
Barber charging forward. And Newland steps well, might fall to Smith. It does, but Shuttler's out. Not enough. Gunnarsson able to turn. Shot deflection. It's in. He did it again. He equalized last year in the final. He equalized again in the semi tonight. Stutter step. Goal. Tigers back on top 2-1.
Problem here on that distribution. Gives it right back to Clemson. And Steve scores for the Tigers. Right now it is Noel and Pitt on the attack. They time it. Brighton looking for Barber. 6 assists on the season for Barber. Looking for 7. He's got it, and so does Brighton. The captain comes through for Clemson. The Clemson Tigers win the ACC championship, avenging last year's loss in the final.
Stay with us in Chapel Hill. It's North Carolina and it's Liberty. More coming up at the half. Beautiful night in Chapel Hill for the beautiful game. The only thing missing are some goals. At the half, it's Liberty 0, North Carolina 0. Stay with us. Halftime in Chapel Hill. Halftime, Dorrance Field, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. You see the score. Liberty 0, North Carolina 0, a non-conference men's soccer matchup right here on ACC Network Extra. Alongside Kyle, I'm Dean. Kyle, your thoughts on the first 45?
I thought North Carolina definitely came out and did what they wanted to do. That was possess the ball, keep it in the attacking third. For Liberty, North Carolina just didn't really get any good opportunities, except for that one really late there in the first half. Liberty, on the other hand, just didn't get much opportunity on offense, and it's hard to take a ball away from a team like Carolina who wants to possess it all the time. But if Liberty can take advantage of an opportunity like the Solace giveaway late in that first half, maybe they can get that first goal and put some pressure on Carolina.
As we break it down by the numbers and take a look here at the first half stats, it's not often that the fouls are the numbers that really draw your attention.
Yeah, both teams got a little bit physical as that first half came to a close. You see Liberty with 6-5 for Carolina. The shots just haven't been there, and I just talked about it. Both teams, when they've had the ball, haven't been able to get that final couple of passes to connect and get the ball into the box and get a real good look at things.
Can we find a goal in the second half? That is the question. Will it be answered? through 45, Liberty 0, North Carolina 0. Welcome back to Dorrance Field, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, home to the Tar Heels. Their first game of the spring portion of this very strange COVID season. Liberty, this is their 5th game of the spring portion. They did not play any games in the fall. You see the captain. Now, they did have some players drafted by MLS, but most of them decided to come back and finish out the college season.
Yeah, because everything is just messed up. We're not in a normal year. There's just everything has had to adapt and change. So the draft went off as normal. When they did, they gave the players the option. You can come and join the team right now, start training with them, or you can go back, play with your college team in the spring. It doesn't affect any recruiting or NCAA rules. And then when you're done, you come and report to camp. I really love that that's the way that they've done it.
They did the same thing for the women's team, and a couple of the players, Fox and Otto, elected to go ahead and turn pro. Brianna Pinto, who got drafted very high by Sky Blue FC, she'll play with the aforementioned Carly Lloyd. So it is very much a decision that, I mean, even Anson admitted he got involved in it. He felt like they were ready to go. So
that's a really hard decision for a player to make. Do you want to go back and finish off knowing that this is your last opportunity with your team and to try and chase that national championship, or do you go and start your professional career, which every single person that's out on the pitch, that's what their dream is.
Alongside Kyle Straub, I'm Dean Linke. Second half, 1 minute in. We'll see if North Carolina can continue to possess. They did have 2 corners, just one for Liberty, as that one by Garbanyan, who's been impressive, goes over the crossbar.
You could see the little smile there. He knew he'd put one close. In stride.
Just over the outstretched hands of the 6'2" Cordero. There's Milo Garbanyan.
And we talked about him a little bit in the first half. Used to be a midfielder for Carolina, so has that attacker's mentality a little bit, but the coaching staff thought he was a better fit on that back line for the defense. Still gets involved offensively, though.
I like what he can bring. Just a couple years ago, Andrew Gutman was the left back for Indiana, and he went on to win the Mack Hermann Trophy winner as a left back. Garbanyan showing some of those qualities as trying to find the head. Good run by Jimenez, but couldn't connect. And Jimenez, with that expression right there, disappointed he didn't make it 1-0.
Easily the best possession by either team. Good one touches. And Jimenez had the right thought coming across the face of that goal, trying to go back post. Just a little bit too much on that angle, though.
We were talking about the left back Garbanyan, but it was the right back, Riley Thomas, who delivered that ball. It was a good ball to Jimenez, who you feel like you give him that ball 3-4 more times and he will connect and put it in the back of the net. Smurf feeling a little bit more pressure to start this second half from Liberty than perhaps he saw in the first half. Pickering, if you remember, he was fouled hard. He's back out there. Here's the giant of a man. He played the first half. Luke Eberle from Arnold, Maryland. Big old number 17. Kelly Finley did remind us of a special overtime victory during his time at NC State at North Carolina. He pretty much cut the conversation short after that one, though, because I think that might have been the only one. But one to remember, an overtime winner here at what is now called Dorrance Field.
I doubt that either coach would admit it, but there's got to be a little bit extra internal want to when you're playing a guy that you've been friends with since 7 years old, like these two guys have been.
You know it. I haven't known you that long, Kyle, and I'd want to beat you.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
The ability to be able to send that morning text of, you remember that time I won?
Like to see a little bit more of Gabe Finley. Good scouting report from North Carolina on Finley. They've done a good job keeping an eye on that Carlos Valderrama hairstyle for Gabe Finley. Are you still going with the perm on that, or?
What it looks like to me.
Salas gets a little touch on it.
I'll tell you this, he's got a head of lettuce that I could never, ever grow in my life.
There's that slippage that you talked about, as a little slip there from Eberle.
A little bit of condensation just makes the field just a little bit wet, and it makes it a little bit harder to be able to plant that foot and really get a good grip from the ground.
Here's Burnett, who's into 2 Tar Heels. Knocked out of bounds via throw-in. Let's see how quickly North Carolina keeps it moving. Garvanian. Tim Shell's back into the game. Taken away by Liberty. Liberty now running downhill. Sent in, good ball right in front, and finish. Liberty with a 1-0 lead. A turnover that was all Liberty needed, and Noah Holmes has made it 1-0 Flames.
I said it in the break, because Liberty has not been able to maintain possession. They haven't gotten much offense. If they can take advantage of a mistake that Carolina makes, they can turn it into a goal, and it's exactly what they do here. Bad throw-in, some miscommunication, and the aggressiveness right away. Never allowed Carolina to get set. You can see the back line scrambling. A great job of settling that ball by Holmes, not panicking, and putting it on the post.
First goal of the season for Holmes. You said it best, Kyle. He didn't panic. Perfect placement. So he's got a goal to join 5 other players that have scored in this spring season. 52nd minute, number 9, Noah Holmes, a sophomore out of Apex, North Carolina. Cary Christian, not too far from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. What a treat for him to be back in his home state and give Liberty a 1-0 lead.
You know, when we were talking with the coaches, I asked Kelly, I said, you guys haven't trailed at all this season. How do you expect your team to respond if you fall behind? And my thought process on the questioning was, Carolina's going to have possession. They're going to have more opportunities.
Oh, looking for a second one. I don't know if Smur tipped that one over, but pushing forward there was Musa Morris, who had those 2 goals against Radford. Break it down, Kyle.
Another bad pass, mistimed that one as he came forward. And you gotta love the aggressiveness. Having a 1-0 lead allows you to take a shot from distance like that.
Going back to that goal, Kyle, it's the little things. And if you remember, Garvanian was over there. He wanted to take a quick throw in, but Montes de Oca kind of kicked it about a little bit, and then Garvanian had to run 10 feet onto the field to get it. It changed the flow of the attack, and now it's been all Liberty. Good defending there by North Carolina, and Garvanian is there. But it's those little details like that, as a hard tackle coming for Liberty, that helped lead to the goal for the Flames.
That's a great spot. It really is the little decisions that are made within a game, or not made, that can turn into a goal.
So Tarin, transfer from St. Mary's by way of Italy. The player that was taken down, former WCC Defender of the Year. They play really good soccer out at St. Mary's. They will run off a ton of wins. Good program.
Hard foul, but the first one of the half against Liberty. You see they're playing some more balls from the midfield, trying to get over top of that Carolina defense here.
Liberty. Oh, what a difference a goal makes, right? The confidence now. Liberty, they're dealing the ball right now the way North Carolina deals it, keeping it on the ground as I say that they lose it.
and pressuring those Carolina midfielders, making it really hard for them to get that ball in transition and get back into the attacking third. You want to keep possession away from Carolina. Don't allow them to get the ball upfield.
Talk about a statement game for Kelly Finley at Liberty. There's his son, Gabe Finley. Gabe running downhill. Gabe got the ball. Good little touch there from Pickering to slow down Gabe Finley, but you got a glimpse of how good he is. Gabe actually came back and stayed with a family in the Raleigh area to finish out his academy work with North Carolina FC Youth. So for him, it's also like coming home. The difference now is he gets to come home every day and be with his family of 5.
He may not live here, but his dad coached in the area while he was growing up.
Garvanyan. Neat little touch to Shells, and Pickering will play it back to Salas. They go left to right. Yaya looks up. Lofted, weighted ball, defending there. On that back line, it'll go out of bounds off of Liberty. That was Braden Borutsky, the sophomore. There's 17 right there. Luke Eberly, part of the Pelota training. He's got a brother who played college basketball at Messiah College, and apparently his brother was a big-time player that turned heads, and Eberly is going to turn heads coming out of the DMV. And you think about Messiah, also a great Christian school. That is an important part of the decision these athletes make, because they make no bones about their faith.
If you're going to go to a school that is a religious-based school, that's a big factor in your recruitment.
Better work from North Carolina as they look and search for the equalizer. Lucas Del Rosario's also in there. That was targeted, I thought, for Del Rosario. Behind him was Jimenez. Either way, it'll be a throw-in. Throw-in North Carolina. As you see, Herrera is trying to find either Del Rosario or his frontline running mate, Jimenez.
Since that Liberty goal, the pace has picked up a little bit here, Dean. Both teams going a little harder.
Tarin, turnover. Liberty sends it forward, finds the foot there of Holmes, the goal scorer. He made it 1-0 off of a throw-in for North Carolina. Quick interception, couple touches inside the 18. Holmes gets a touch and put it where Smurr couldn't get to it, and that's where we are, Kyle Stroud, 1-0. Liberty on top.
Allow me to pontificate here for a second, Dean. I said at halftime, if they could get that turnover, they could turn it into offense, and it's because North Carolina can't get that defense, which is so stout set up, and that's exactly what happened.
Lucas Del Rosario, he can slice and dice you, looking to earn the foul. Referee not buying it. I do like seeing Lucas Del Rosario in there, though. Down a goal, he can score on his own. He's that good.
He really is. Dynamic player for the Tar Heels. Got a friend that's listening, and I don't know exactly where E-Town is, but they heard what you said and said E-Town better than Messiah. Maybe a little bit of a rivalry going on there.
Messiah's pretty good. Both men's and women's soccer over the years, they are always battling for national championships. I'm assuming E-Town is in the mix. I'll give your friend some credit for that, but I do know Messiah has won a lot of national titles. Tell him to check the scoreboard and get back to me.
I'll let him know. I'm probably going to go with Messiah winning because they got somebody in this game.
All right, cool. You finally got my back there, Kyle. I appreciate that.
I always got your back. You know? That was a tough foul. Came in a little bit late, both bodies colliding. Definitely looked like the freshman Thomas got the worst of it. Got hit twice as he went to the ground. Holmes came across the top.
That was Morris. I think Thomas has done A solid shift here for North Carolina. You see the freshman from Atlanta. A lot of great soccer players out of Atlanta.
A couple of good touches
now
there from Shells.
Real good touches from Shells, and that'll earn a card for Seth Clark, the sophomore from New Zealand.
Second yellow card against Liberty, and that one definitely should have been a yellow card. If you're going to get called for that, get called for it at midfield where you're not putting your defense in too much of a tough position.
But you were spot on, though, because Shells drew that foul with a couple nifty moves. So good run for Shells here. A little bit too long for Herrera, and it'll come back to Liberty. Coming back into the game for Liberty, Tyler Welch Jr. Coming out of the game, the goal scorer, Noah Holmes. He may get another run, but nothing better than, if you're going to get pulled out, might as well get pulled out after you scored one and go over there and soak it in.
Yeah, go get all the congratulations and praise.
Great work by our crew. Lauren George producing. Paul Beam slicing and dicing as the director, as you see Yango coming in, number 25. Clark out for Kelly Finley and the Liberty Flames.
Just about 15 minutes gone here in this second half. Two things I want to keep an eye on, Dean. One, do the legs for Carolina get tired because this is their first true game in the spring? Two, because of the substitutions that Carlos has been able to use, does it actually work the other way and Liberty gets tired because they've been able to run them so much? 17 players used for the Tar Heels so far today.
Good look at Carlos Samuano. Right next to him, Grant Porter. Coaching staff, the head coach, Carlos Samuano, in his 10th season. Perfect chest trap there from Santiago Herrera. 6 shots for North Carolina, 3 for Liberty, but Liberty has found the back of the net here in the second half. North Carolina starting to put together passes. Del Rosario, Garvanian. Del Rosario back to Garvanian. Look at Liberty. They've got 6, 7 blue jerseys pretty tight there above the 18.
They had a pretty good tight grouping, but they weren't getting sucked in. They were all making sure to stay in their position.
Nice work by Del Rosario to get it over to the right side. The run now here from Herrera. Herrera's had a couple chances to send in crosses. They'll say this one went out of bounds. It'll come back to Liberty. And one thing Liberty won't be doing is they won't be going quickly here. Every second will count here as they're trying to do something they haven't done in 6 tries, and that is beat North Carolina, and they have a 1-0 lead.
They came in with some confidence, 4-0 on the season, haven't given up a goal. They can take this win here in Chapel Hill and vault them the rest of the season.
Kelly Finley assisted by Jake Berry and Douglas Oliveira. Douglas Oliveira from Sao Paulo, Brazil. You see very much both these teams with some international connections. College soccer across the board has tremendous pipeline internationally. One of the best things I like about that is when you talk to those athletes that have come over from either Europe or from South America, Shells gets that touch, is they actually do talk about academics first. They love coming to United States colleges and getting a great degree.
Especially South America and Europe, the training and the way that they're kind of brought up through the system to get to the national team. That's the ultimate goal. Very, very different than the way we do it here in the States. And you can make the argument that maybe that's why on the men's side of things, we're at a little bit lower level than some of the other European and South American teams. But the education is exactly, to your point, the reason that those kids come over here and play in the U.S. It's more about just soccer. You got the rest of your life as well.
So Gabe Finley's going to take a break as Michael Huss, 6'1" freshman from Phoenix, Arizona, Northwest Christian High School, will come in.
Strategic substitution there. When we talked with the coaches, Kelly told us Yeah, Carlos is going to be able to go deeper than I am, but I've got a handful of guys that I can throw in there that I'm comfortable with, and I think it's a smart substitution here to get his son 10 minutes probably of rest so that he can go back out there for the final 15.
Jimenez, one too many touches. Knocked out of bounds, and now you need to keep an eye on the body language of the Tar Heels. Perhaps a little bit shocked here. First game of the spring season, getting their legs, their lungs, and then of course they've got this non-conference with, you know, a mid-major at best in Liberty, and they're trailing 1-0.
It's a situation where you can allow all of that to pile up if you're a player. Or you can look at it all and say, all right, how do we get the next goal, and let's go to work. I'm sure that's something that Carlos and his coaching staff are really looking at. How do we respond when we go down? And not just go down, but go down in a game where they probably didn't expect to be trimmed. It's passes like that that have just been off the mark. Carolina just not crisp right now. The ball was a little bit too much pace for Del Rosario.
Each team with still just a single shot on goal. Smur, nothing he could do on the goal. You can't blame the goalkeeper at all. Good little touch there by Musa Morris. He's a quality player. And a whistle goes against Lucas Del Rosario. And Carlos Samuano off the bench wants to talk about it a little bit. And Marco Matrevsky lots of Tar Heels warming up in the upper right-hand corner of your ACC Network Extra screen. Expect to see more of them as North Carolina will bring the kitchen sink to try to equalize this. Del Rosario doing what he does, dancing with the ball. Montez Diaca will play it back. Another mistake out of the back there, out of bounds. It'll be a throw-in.
That's an unforced error there, Dean. Not a lot of pressure being put on that back line by the Tar Heels.
Yeah, that was Zatarin. I like this change. I thought Akeem Clark did well finding open spots as coming out of the game is Herrera. Good look there at Seth Clark in the 11 jersey in for Matrevsky. 1-0 Liberty, the Flames, 3 wins and a tie on the spring season. They did not play at all in the fall. 3 years ago, they entered the A-Sun. Rough year, technically a year ago, obviously not in the fall, but the season ago. There you go, 2019. Great job, Aaron Crew. You see that 5-13, 1-5 in the conference.
It's one of those things where they had that hard year, but from the time that season ended until this one began was well over a full calendar year. That's a lot of time to work and get better. Not what you want to see here if you're a Carolina fan. Shells grabbing at that left knee as he goes off to the sideline. It was his left knee he was grabbing at, and it didn't look like anything had happened to it there. It looks like he kind of came down on it, and it hedged into the turf a bit.
So the North Carolina training staff spending some extra time, and you're right, the left leg at least. So that'll bring Cameron Fisher back into the game, the sophomore from Palo Alto, California. Saw Michael Huss come into the game. We'll see if he gets any touches. 134 career high school goals in Arizona, including 47 as a senior. So huge numbers for Huss. Already got 2 against Belmont Abbey. Knows how to score.
Those had a finish, yeah.
Eberly, told you about his brother playing basketball at Messiah.
Fisher relentless here for Carolina.
Yeah, well said, Kyle. Look at him. Still going after. He's going to try to, I thought he was going to chase down one
all
more.
All the way across the field.
He finally dropped back into midfield.
Well, that's exactly what you're looking for when you bring a guy in off the bench, a sub. You want those fresh legs to go out there and outpace everybody else.
Burnett. Liberty pushing it forward, trying to find the aforementioned big-time goal scorer out of high school. Can you imagine your high school year scoring over 50 goals?
No, that's
you talking about the big man on campus. You kidding me? 47 goals as a senior. I gave him credit for 50. Close enough.
You're expected to get multiple goals a game when you're scoring at that kind of a clip.
This is better from North Carolina. And as I say that, the jinx right there, final touch not home as it'll go off the foot of number 19, Jonathan Sinclair, who was probably going to start at right back, tweaked something yesterday in practice, the freshman from Valley Stream, New York, and you caught it as you see Holmes, the goal scorer, coming back in, and you also see Gabe Finley coming back in. You absolutely nailed that, Kyle. They get a little break, and now they've got some fresh legs here for the final 20 to try to close out what would be a massive win for the Liberty program. Make no mistake.
Even a little bit shorter than I expected. I thought more around the 15 to 17 minute mark is when they'd come back in, but hey, get your best players back out there when they tell you they're ready to go.
Garvanyan, there's the quick throw in. Montez Diaca gets a touch on it. Not able to do much with it, though, is Jimenez.
I know there's just under 21 minutes left, but North Carolina's got to take some risks on the offensive side of things.
Zatarin stepped up just in time. Del Rosario, 2 blue jerseys around him, and he'll lose it. One right back. That's a phenomenal tackle by Zatarin.
It is. He came in hard, but he played the ball.
And he stayed upright. I like seeing that. Going down right there on contact was Fisher. Referee not having it today. He's been consistent in that way, for sure.
He has, and with any sport, you just want consistencies from the referees on all calls. You make your adjustments in game to what they're doing.
Side of the foot, one bounce. No problem at all for Danny Cordero, the sophomore from Costa Rica. Zatarin looking to find somebody open. It'll be Fisher. Felt the pressure.
I love the pressure that Liberty is putting on North Carolina on this half of the field. A lot of times in this situation, if you're a quote-unquote underdog team and you take the lead and you're late in the second half, they're going to sit back and pack in defensively.
Great point. Eberly has it taken away. One right back, though, by Liberty, who, to Kyle Straub's point, they're continuing to play as if they're down a goal. And
here in the second half, it's actually causing Carolina some problems.
Yeah, they're having trouble getting out of their defensive third, so Smur boots it long, gets a decent bounce. Ooh, Gio, I don't think Gio realized he had time to keep going forward right there, Kyle.
And if he had, he could have taken that one in stride, gotten behind the defense.
Liberty can take a shot. Denied there by Zatarin. They push it wide right, the Flames do. Finds the feet here of Welch. Deflected, and Smur has it with the clock ticking now. 18 and 30 seconds remaining. You see the score right. The Liberty Flames 3-0-1. That one tie to James Madison, leading North Carolina 1-0. The goal coming in the second half. Noah Holmes with his first goal of the season, the sophomore from down the road, Apex, North Carolina, and Cary Christian High School.
I like that last ball that North Carolina tried to play forward. Just need to get a little bit of air underneath it.
Good shield by Sinclair. That'll earn the throw in. There's the goal scored. Feeling pretty good about things. Perhaps maybe thinking about a late brace here, not too far from his hometown in Apex. Think about Apex, that's a town that's got it going on. And then I think about Liberty. I was there on Monday, actually, because I told you I featured Kelly Finley in the United Soccer Coaches podcast. And as beautiful as this field is, and this is probably the best college soccer field in the country, the facilities at Liberty are ridiculous, Kyle.
They are. I mean, I've been there for a couple of baseball games, and the fact that you can put your logo into the side of a mountain that looks over their football and baseball field, I mean, just wow.
Into the 18. North Carolina looking to tie, and turning on it but not getting his body around it is Jimenez. Even the fields for intramural, for students that aren't playing varsity sports, are first class. I mean, they're just incredible. Spread all over Lynchburg, Virginia,
And
which
nestled right there in the mountains. Just a beautiful campus overall.
Nice setting. Kelly Finley's office overlooks their soccer field. Garvanian. Garvanian again, coming forward from that left back spot. Montez Diaca tries to switch it. Finley has dropped back to help defensively. That's a good little touch from Finley. Now the extra pass. Too ambitious that time. It'll roll out of bounds. Still plenty of time, Kyle, for North Carolina to tie this.
Plenty of time, but on that other side, you've got to connect on that last pass. It was almost like Montez Diaca didn't see Finley standing there right in front of him as he tried to feed it over into the corner.
Musa Morris, who leads the Flames team with 7 points on 3 goals and 1 assist, will check back in. Lucas Del Rosario went out for just a split second. I mean, it wasn't even a couple minutes, and he's right back in there for Jimenez as North Carolina tries to chase the equalizer.
You said it earlier, Del Rosario, really talented player. They need him out on the field, especially for the last push if they're going to try and get an equalizer.
He's knocked to the ground, won back though by North Carolina. Montez Diaca has had to come back as well to get involved. Rough touch there for the Tar Heels to go out of bounds and back to Liberty. Bakayoko, Yaya Bakayoko started the game. Freshman from the Bronx.
You see Betts there wiping that ball up. That's what I was talking about earlier. Ball probably getting wet from the condensation. Goes out of bounds. Go ahead and get a new one in there.
Salas, ooh, I thought he did good work to knock that off of Holmes. Holmes somehow got out of the way, and this is another dangerous opportunity. I think Holmes actually just told Salas that
he may have gotten one there.
Garvanian tried to play it into his own space. You don't see that as much at the men's game. You see that a ton at the women's game where they'll play it into their own space and run it down. Lynn Williams down the road for the North Carolina Courage does it as good as anybody. She teams up top there with Jessica McDonald, who was another great player here at North Carolina Chapel Hill.
Pretty sure Lynn Williams has scored a couple of goals in her career.
Yeah, she and Jessica McDonald, right? The former Tar Heel, who lives in Chapel Hill now, lives just a few miles from her head coach, Anson Dorrance. Soccer mom.
And I'm sure not just for Carolina, but any of the Triangle schools, once the NWSL was created and there was a team put back here in North Carolina, they all had to have been itching to get back into this state, get back home and play in Carolina. Probably part of the reason that they have been able to win a couple of titles.
Well said. And speaking of that, coming home, once again, Noah Holmes from Apex, North Carolina, with the only goal. And here comes Luke Eberle back in for Noah Holmes. A little extra touch coming that time from Mitrevsky. And this is about the time where Kelly Finley, with that 1-0 lead over his good friend since they were 7 years old, Carlos Samuano, coming from the A-Sun Conference. He has found a home after Heartbreak City when the NC State job didn't work out. Went to Sporting KC, then went to Davidson as North Carolina looking for that equalizer. Handled by Liberty, back across, Lucas Del Rosario. Doesn't need a whole lot of room, drops it one more time. North Carolina stays with it, and the shot not there. And a Liberty player is down. The moment they're running the clock, we'll see if they stop it soon. Now they will stop it.
Yeah, got his ankle stepped on by Clark, looking to play the ball there. Good to see the freshman back up.
Yep, Arnold Onyango from Kenya. Went to Indiana Wesleyan, where one of Kelly Finley's assistant coaches also played, so they had that connection to draw the Kenyan over. Just finishing my thought on Finley, though. And here you are, your dream job. Now you're out, right? And you're trying to figure it out. Had great ties to, at the time, Mike Jacobs, who's with Sporting KC. He now heads up Nashville. He said, come on out, coach our academy team. We'll figure it out. Got to hang out with Peter Vermees. Got to get a French license that he said was an incredible learning experience. And yet the college game drew him back. So Matt Spear calls him from Davidson. Does a great job there. Matt Spear leaves. At the same time, the Liberty job opens up. Going back to the fact that he is a longtime Christian, just felt like it was best for his family, so moved his 5 kids one more time. And now they're settled in Lynchburg. And guess what? They're 10 minutes and change from knocking off North Carolina and pushing their record to 4-0-1.
Sometimes your dream job isn't the dream job you actually realize until you get into it. And him at Liberty, when we were talking to him, just couldn't have been happier, and you could see that and hear it in his voice.
Tim Shells, we saw him get banged up earlier, so Ernest Bawa, the freshman from Illinois, the Taft School out of Connecticut, is where he went and played soccer, as see Finley putting some pressure on Salas. And that goes back to what you said about Liberty's approach here with this 1-0 lead, Kyle. They're staying true to that.
Stay aggressive. Do what works for you. Don't go ahead and fall back into a defensive set where you're saying to North Carolina, okay, pepper us. Let's see if we can maintain and not give up a goal. Keep attacking. Maybe attack on another one here.
They might even be attacking more since the goal than before that.
They have definitely been attacking more in this second half.
Finley gets a little touch on it, but before he does, he is called for the foul.
Another play going down there. Thomas with a slip.
Garvagnon, will see him continue to push forward. Long ball, top of the 18. Clark chested down.
It's not going to be easy for Liberty to maintain this lead for the last 9:27. North Carolina has a lot of talent. They're going to push forward. It will be hard for Liberty, but with the way they've played so far, I see no reason that they can't hold on to it, though, Dean.
Extra effort from Eberle caused Pickering to foul him. And what Pickering's got to remember, on every foul, Liberty can chop that clock down, and that's exactly what they're doing.
They would talk about being aggressive while in play, but if there's a stoppage for whatever reason, that clock is running, go ahead and eat into it.
More high pressure from the team that is winning, Liberty. And they're causing North Carolina all kinds of problems building it out of the back. How about Liberty here? 8 minutes and 30 seconds away from knocking off the perennial power that is the North Carolina Tar Heels. Excellent footwork for Liberty there by Everly. As it'll roll out of bounds. Finley trying to run it down.
The 5th offsides against Liberty just shows you how aggressive they have been. Continuing to try and push, get behind the Carolina defense. Tar Heels struggling just to get it past midfield right now.
Finley. It was Carlos Valderrama. Locks. So easy to pick out there, isn't it?
Definitely makes it easier. Not looking for a number on the jersey. Just look for the head of hair.
There he is. Of course, Carlos Valderrama started at Tampa, then went to Colorado, where I was for a little bit. And what a player. Incredible. Back into the game for Liberty, Michael Huss. We told you his numbers in high school. Herrera comes back in, and Clark will go out.
Another offside.
Zero shots since the 47th minute for the Tar Heels. Our unofficial stats say North Carolina with 7 shots, Liberty with 5, 2 shots on goal for Liberty, each goalkeeper with 1 save. And I say unofficial because I'm not certain.
Always be safe. No shots in the last, or since the 47th minute. That goal was scored in the 52nd by Liberty. Really was a complete 180 when that ball went in.
See the fouls. That expression says a lot there from Carlos Salmano. He's got some talent on this team. You got to remember, Liberty had the benefit of 4 games. There's something to be said about that. 4 games, including one that went 2 overtimes without finding a goal. That's a lot of soccer. The soccer that matters is different than just practicing soccer.
Can't replicate an actual game against opponent in a full 90 minutes like that in practice. It's just not possible. And we've seen it with the crispness from North Carolina. Haven't been able to connect on some passes. Even that turnover that led to the goal for Liberty, that's just a bad decision there. You throw it in, maybe a little bit further into the season they don't. But it's the way the year is. You got to credit Liberty.
Ernest Bawa earning a corner kick. And this is where a lot of white jerseys will come forward. You see Bawa, also a Gatorade High School Player of the Year. Cordero. North Carolina's not done here. Denied, though, by Liberty. North Carolina pushing everybody forward, including Salas, the right center back. Into the 18, back across. Liberty needs to avoid more corners for North Carolina, as that last one was dangerous. The Tar Heels, 5 minutes remaining to try to tie.
Carolina's got to put all numbers forward for this last 5 minutes.
Del Rosario.
Looking for Herrera.
You got to figure John Bradford, who's now the head coach of North Carolina FC's League One team, who coached all of these players in the youth system, is looking on, taking a look particularly at Lucas Del Rosario. Not able to go today is Alex Rose, who over a season ago scored a ton of goals. He did not do a whole lot in the fall and is still out, not medically cleared for this game. He would make a difference too, big, tall target.
He would, especially on those set pieces. That's really where they like to get him into the game and utilize that height.
Finley, side of his foot, touch of class. Burnett down near the corner flag. Sends it back to North Carolina. See if North Carolina can string some passes together here. Look at Liberty continue to not make it easy, even their defensive third. They are not backing down. They have not just dropped back to midfield for a second in this game. Kyle, I give you high marks for pointing that out early. Shot from distance with Smurr off his line. I don't know if that'll make Kelly Finley too happy, as they just need 3 minutes or so to clear this one out, but clearly Marco Matrevsky saw something with Smurr perhaps beyond the 6.
If you're going to take that shot in this situation, it better be on frame, so at least you can have a potential for a rebound, maybe keep possession. But you can't just give it away when you're trying to eat up the last 3 minutes here.
Yeah, you're trying to ice it out, come away with a big win. Just a little over 2 hours away, Lynchburg. That will be a rowdy bus ride for these Flame soccer players if they can hang on. One thing that I can say definitively, not as a throwaway, with Pitt and Virginia coming to town, this North Carolina team's still going to win a bunch of games. They got a ton of talent. Liberty just capitalized on a mistake, and they're hanging on.
Yeah, we saw North Carolina in the fall, and they were able to beat a couple of big-time teams. Got close there. North Carolina players wanted a whistle for a foul in the box.
Clock keeps ticking.
Yeah, to your point, they will win those games. They just need to get their feet underneath them, get things clicking a little bit more as a team. Players wanted a foul on this one. I thought that was a good no call from the ref. You could see the left foot of the defender. That was Burnett, the right foot, clipping that ball and then it bouncing off of Del Rosario as they both go to the turf.
Another long chip, and now just 90 seconds remaining. Noah Holmes scoring his first goal of the season. His teammates Morris has 3, Huss has 3, Matrevsky with 1, Clark with 1, Barutsky with 1, and now Holmes with 1. Offside there is Finley.
May have been the easiest call for the umpires all game long. Just kind of camped out at that 18-yard line.
Referee also stopping the clock here with 1:12. That'll give Smurr a chance to try to hit it 50, 60 yards.
Another yellow card that went against the Liberty team. Gave it to Gabe Finley. Not sure if they said he was trying to waste time there, so a delay of game card or what. But
yeah, I think so. Yeah, with 1:12, Finley, they'd already called offside, so good work by the referee to give the time back to North Carolina. Musa Morris, he'll lose it there, but he's been pretty good. 1 minute remaining. Kelly Finley standing up. Carlos Samuano staying down. Sent out of bounds there by Betts.
Carolina had some heroics in the fall with literally a last-second goal against Clemson.
Handled there by Cordero. Has not allowed a goal in 4 games yet, including a double overtime 0-0 tie against James Madison. And he's 20 seconds away from going the first 5 games of this spring season without allowing a goal. What a story for Liberty. 0 goals allowed this season.
Hard-nosed team, a hard-fought win. They are going to be happy after this one.
Final seconds counting down, and good friends Kelly Finley, the top man at Liberty, Carlos Samuano, the top man at North Carolina. Fist bumps all the way around. Final score, Liberty 1, North Carolina 0.
North Carolina dominated possession in the first half. The Flames made the adjustments at halftime, took advantage of a mistake that Carolina made on a throw-in. That was all they needed. That stout defense, and Cordero in goal took care of the rest.
You know it. The goal came from Noah Holmes. I want to thank Lauren George, our producer, Paul B.